Things at Manchester United have suddenly gone a little bit quiet. Some of the hype has calmed down a little bit. There's not really much happening right now. Partly because our last result was a slightly disappointing flat draw against West Ham, but also because we are sitting in this weird 13-day spell with no football matches, which isn't normal for an elite football club. However, what this time represents is a great opportunity to take a step back, to calm down a little bit, and actually reflect on everything that we have learned about Carrick's spell in the first month. Now, the big thing that I have noticed since Michael Carrick and his coaching staff have been at the football club is that the ship has just steadied. The storm has calmed a little bit. It's almost nice that there's no drama. It's almost nice that there's, in a way, nothing to talk about. If we rewind 6 weeks, Ruben Amorim was getting sacked off the back of some poor results, but also some quite interesting press conferences. Darren Fletcher came in, which was exciting, but the two performances and the two results were quite poor. They were disappointing. And the top four looked in doubt. United were in trouble. But then Carrick and his coaching staff come striding through the door and everything is quite simple. We win 4 of the first 5 games, the other one being a draw away from home, which isn't a bad result. Suddenly we're scoring goals, we're not conceding quite as many, and the press conferences are just a little bit calmer. The ship has steadied, but you guys are here for a bit more detail than that. So let's get to the tactical stuff, because that is what you guys are subscribed to the channel for. And if you're not, well then, please change that. Please subscribe. Please press that red button and join the community. But let's talk about United on the football pitch. And I think there's a very different approach for United. I think under Carrick, there is something that we do very differently to what we did prior. And that is we take on challenges head first. United take risks on the ball, we take chances on the ball, but we also face the challenges that the opposition throw at us. We know that United play in the Premier League, a pretty strong league, if you hadn't noticed. It's a very strong division, a lot of competition, and defensively, I think teams are absolutely fantastic these days, particularly with the way that they press high. The league is relentless, the tempo is insane, the intensity is just off the charts. Players everywhere pressing, putting you under pressure in every single part of the pitch. And what we saw earlier in the season was that United sort of avoided that. We sort of shirked that challenge. We tried to get away from it. Lomans this season has averaged 19.75 long passes per match. However, under Carrick, he has been under that number in 4 of the 5 games, with Arsenal being the exception, which I think we can all understand because Arsenal are a pretty good team. But Lomans playing less long balls sort of suggests that United are taking more risks on the ball, and that more importantly, we're playing a little bit shorter and taking chances. Lisandro Martinez doing this on the turn is not something you see unless you are willing to take risks, and the players are given the license to make mistakes ultimately, because sometimes you will. When you play out from the back in these areas, sometimes you're going to get it wrong, you're going to lose the ball, and you've got a problem. But it's still worth trying. It's still worth trying playing out from the back. And for United, we've seen quite an effective way of doing this. Often, United push several of the forwards nice and high up the pitch. So Mbeumo up front, Ahmad on the right wing, Cunha on the left, and even Bruno Fernandes, no longer sort of in a double pivot, now playing much higher, allowed to join the attacking line. And the great thing about these 4 is that they are lethal. 4 of the best attackers in the Premier League. So when you push these 4 players really high up the pitch, the opposition become a little bit worried. They're a little bit worried about these guys. So what they do is they just hang back a little bit. Maybe they don't want to go man for man, so maybe they just give themselves an extra player to try and deal with these situations. But that is actually what creates the space for United now to play out from the back. And there is a lot of space for these guys. You know, the likes of Kobbie Mainoo and Casemiro are able to roam and pick up the ball in different situations. But also the fullbacks as well. We'll go back to it in the Manchester City game. Dalot running past the ball, running into that space from the right-hand side. So United are taking more risks on the ball. We're playing out from the back. And for me, this is a huge positive for 2 main reasons. And it is important to point this out, because we know the risk. How about the reward? What's the good thing with playing out from the back? Well, one of the good things is you can turn this into quick, fast, dangerous attacking situations, despite initially actually playing quite slowly. You see, when you play the ball slowly out from the back, you play from the goalkeeper to a centre-back, you draw the opposition onto you. With the forwards then actually pinning quite high initially, there is a big space that opens up in the opposition's midfield. And there's 2 ways that we can attack that. We can either move the ball patiently from the back and find a spare midfielder, or one of these forwards starting high can actually drop towards the ball, pick up the ball in these spaces, and then look to turn. So you may think playing out from the back is quite a slow idea, but actually very quickly it can turn into extremely fast attacks, which is one of the positives. The other positive is the opposite. You can play slowly if you want to, and that allows you to keep the ball. That allows you to control the ball. And as far as I'm concerned, if you've got the ball, you're probably not going to concede. So whereas earlier in the season, United would sort of boot the ball long, it goes into 50-50s, it goes into duels, and the opposition could get the ball back. Now suddenly United are keeping it a little bit safer at times and can slowly build through the pitch and keep possession. So I've really enjoyed this change. Now, something else that has changed under Michael Carrick is that suddenly there is a fear factor back. Suddenly teams don't want to play Manchester United because they know we are very dangerous. And again, that's how it should always be at this football club. Because this football club, as far as I'm concerned, will always have good players. We will always have some seriously good players. So teams should be scared of us. I think over the past year and a half, perhaps, we've been a bit too concerned about what other teams can do to us, the way that other teams can hurt us, and we've tried to mask our own weaknesses. We've tried to be pragmatic at times to protect ourselves. But let's flip that mindset. Let's take the game to the opposition and talk about how we can get Bruno Fernandes high in the final third, how we can get Mbeumo and Cunha into goal-scoring situations, or Ahmad dribbling at people. So that fear factor is back, sort of reflected by the fact that West Ham at home literally parked the bus for the entirety of the second half because they were scared of what United could do if they opened up even in the slightest. Now, the other reason why there is a fear factor here is because teams know that we can hurt them in a few different ways. For example, we can play on different lines. That can be vertical lines straight through the middle of the pitch, but also horizontal or diagonal lines coming back inside the pitch from these wider positions. For the opposition, that becomes more difficult to defend because you know that United have a multi-threat. They might hurt you through the middle of the pitch with a straight pass from Lisandro Martinez to, let's say, Bruno Fernandes, a straight pass. So defensively, you've got to get yourself in a position to defend that. But also, United can hurt teams diagonally. We can come back inside the pitch from a wider zone punching back through. And again, now we can see that that defender has to shift position to try and deal with that. Oh, but that then opens up the vertical pass again. So because we've got that multi-threat, the opposition defenders are required to multi-defend, if you like, to make more decisions, to drop into more different positions. And for defenders, that just makes things more complicated. The other way that United make the game more complicated for the opposition, which is a nice change, by the way, complicated for the opposition, not United, that's nice to hear, is by, again, attacking in different ways. We've seen that United can move the ball through the pitch to hurt the opposition, but we can also move the ball around the pitch. We can move around the outside, we can go round the block and damage other teams in wide areas as well. And then the other thing we can do is go past the opposition. So we don't have to necessarily go through or round. We can go past, we can go over, we can go direct. We can look for runners in behind. And again, for these opposition defenders, there's so many things to consider. Are we defending vertically? Are we defending diagonally? Have we got to defend wide? Have we got to defend through the middle? Have we got to defend over the top? For these centre-backs, these are hundreds of split-second decisions that they've got to make over the course of a game. And for United, that's how you test the other team. That's how you test the other team. Now, of course, against West Ham, we did see that this wasn't quite as effective. And it's not going to be perfect. Carrick has been here 1 month. Let me reiterate that. I've been informed that it takes a lot longer than that for a manager to adapt to a new club and for his players to adapt. You've got to remember, these players will still have perhaps some of Amarim's ideas in the back of their head. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's a bad thing. That's open to you guys. But it certainly sometimes creates confusion, right? When you've sort of got two different managers' ideas in your head, you're not quite sure where you're meant to go. That will sort of ease out of the team over time. For now, there is those split seconds of indecision, which makes United a little bit stuck sometimes. But generally speaking, we are just much more threatening. We're much more entertaining. Our players are combining much better, much more synergized. We simply look way more dangerous, which for an attacking football team is a good thing. However, it hasn't all been sunshine and smiles and rainbows and other pretty things. There have been problems for Manchester United in these games as well. There have been moments where we have stuttered a little bit. For example, against West Ham, everything that we've looked at so far has been something new for United. Bravery, taking on the challenge, being on the front foot, and then all those different ways of threatening the opposition. It's been great. But also, there are some things which feel all too familiar. Against West Ham, we saw a United team that struggled to break down the low block, and we have certainly seen that before. Now, I have to make something very, very clear in terms of my thought process here. I think we underappreciate as a fan base, as a community, the football world, I think we underappreciate just how difficult it is to break down a low block. We are talking about the best league in the world, full of the best players in the world, full of the best coaches in the world. Teams that set up incredibly stubbornly, you know, they're difficult to break down. They've got a great goalkeeper, they've got great centre-backs, great defensive fullbacks, great midfielders, great wingers, great forwards. They're well drilled, they know their moments to jump, they know their moments to sit deeper. Physically, they're immense. The gaps are so tight. It's difficult to play against these low blocks, but it is something that we're going to face, and it is something that we need to work on if we want to take that next step under Michael Carrick. With some of the games coming up, this is something that we're going to have to get better at. And I'm, again, really looking forward to see how we might take that challenge on. I'm looking forward to see what different solutions we might come up with. Against West Ham, I felt the lack of profile was a problem. We know we don't have a left winger. Tough luck, we've got to deal with that. But I just felt we didn't ask enough questions. We didn't take enough risks. We've spent the first part of the video talking about risks and asking more questions. Against West Ham, I felt like we went back a step. Now, we could simply put that down to an off night. Perhaps United didn't perform in that particular game and that's what caused those problems. Or perhaps tactically, there is a bigger problem here. Perhaps in these games against these teams that sit deep, our tactical solutions don't work quite as well. So again, that is something that Carrick is going to have to try and figure out. By the way, can you tell I've sneezed? My voice has just completely died mid-recording. But yeah, this is something that United have to try and figure out under Carrick. So as positive as it has been, there are still problems as well. And I think the other problem that I will continue to point out, and we sort of have done since, you know, probably Fulham, Spurs, and then West Ham, we've commented on this, is just the high press. Now, I think the intention is there. I don't think United want to be passive. I think United want to press. I think United want to engage. I think we want to play on the front foot, which are all huge positives. We want to get towards the opposition and, again, put them under pressure. Ask the questions of them. Take the game to them, which is great. But there are moments where we're caught a little bit short in the last 3 games, where we haven't quite got the press right. And I feel that the intention is right, but I don't feel that the structure or the instructions are always actually allowing us to go and execute that idea. We want to press, but at times we don't have quite enough players in the high positions to press. So the idea is right, we want to get towards the ball, but the instructions or the structure isn't quite there because the opposition can get out from the back. And in spells of games, this makes United a little bit too easy to play against, and you can move the ball forward. However, there is just one counterpoint I want to raise here, particularly in a certain game against a team like West Ham. You guys can let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. Is there an argument when you play a West Ham who are stubborn defensively, who get players behind the ball? Is there an argument for actually letting them play here? Letting them play, because when a team plays out from the back, they open up, they make themselves bigger, they get on the ball, they want to attack. Is there an argument for letting some of these, you know, smaller, worse teams, however you want to label them, letting them play out from the back, letting them come forward, letting them open up just a little bit? Because is that the moment when you can overturn the ball and quickly attack and now score goals with those larger spaces? Just something for you to think about in the comments. Now, regardless of your thoughts on that last comment, I think it's fair to say that United have improved immensely under Michael Carrick. And like I said right at the start of the video, which feels like ages ago now, the ship has steadied. United are a bit calmer. There's less drama on the football pitch. Off the pitch, don't get me started, okay? Don't get me started. But on the pitch is much calmer. The football side of things is much calmer, much more controlled. United have won games. United have got points on the board. We're scoring goals. We're difficult to play against. And we're climbing up the table. We're in the top 4. We're where we want to be. Of course, there are problems still, things that we need to iron out and figure out and change and tweak, of course. You know, it's the best league in the world. I'll say it again. It's a new manager. These things take time. But I think Carrick and his staff have been fantastic. I think the players have responded incredibly well. And I think we're playing more like Manchester United should. That's fast football. That's quick football. It's risky football. You know, it's taking chances on the ball. Something which we lost a little bit against West Ham. In the next game, let's make sure we get back to that. Taking risks, taking chances, take the game to the opposition. And you will see a United team that can absolutely thrive. But that is it for now. We're sort of 1 month in. That's what we've learned in the first month. Now it's on to the next month and see what happens next, basically. That feels like United till the end of the season. Win a game, draw a game, lose a game, whatever it is. Let's see what happens next. That's sort of the boat that we are in right now. But again, that boat has steadied just a little bit. So I'm happy. I'm very content with what Carrick has done so far. If you offered me this first 5 games, I'd have taken your hand off for it. United are in a great place and long may it continue. But for now, that is that. Nothing left to talk about. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you in the next one.